This is Gilbert Andrew Garcia of A Tip from Gilbert, talk, inspiration, and prayer. Listen to my show every Monday from 11 to 12 on KWWJ 1360 AM, KYOK 1140 AM, KCOH at 1230 KCOH.com, Sangeet Radio at 95.1 FM, 1460 AM, and Latino Sports, KEYH 850 AM. Call in at 832-570-8075 and follow me on social media. See you then. All right, Houston, it's me, Gilbert Garcia, with another tip from me, talk, inspiration, and prayer. Thank you for joining our show. And I want to remind everyone that I want to welcome, of course, Latino Sports, KEYH 850 AM, because they are a major 100,000 watt station. And of course, we're now broadcasting all over Harris County and even more. And we're going to be all geared up for soccer and the World Cup. So you'll be listening to the World Cup and hearing this show. And I'm going to start doing my spots that we do. We run 8 commercials every day, 10 on sports radio. And we're going to be talking about our future guests. So I'm going to start letting everyone know who's coming to the show. And I have Miss Jewell Handy on the show. And I met Miss Handy, of course, from St. Agnes. And that's, of course, where my baby daughter and my only girl and my only child left at home, Juju Garcia. If you're out there, Juju, I love you. That's where she goes to school. Miss Handy, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Bring the mic a little bit closer to you. And Miss Handy, so you are one of the musical directors in the theater. I mean, you're everything there at St. Agnes. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm the director of theater at St. Agnes Academy, and I do direct the musical in the spring and a play in the fall. And I've been there for about 11 years.
Wow.
I'm an alum also.
You're an alum too?
Yep.
Oh my God. You know what? I wanted to be discovered. How can I be discovered? I want to be on Broadway or something.
Well, you have to start at school first.
Doggone it.
You've got to learn. I mean, obviously, yeah. I'm biased.
Yeah,
but come and audition.
Yeah, I'm ready. You know, I remember the show that there was some Broadway show I was at, and I went to go see it, and there was when one of the main principal actors, that they call principals, was a St. Agnes alum.
Oh yeah.
And I was trying to, get to know, try to see them. I put a little note there, but it didn't work.
Oh.
But then I also saw that one of the main characters of The Handmaid's Tale is also a St. Agnes alum.
Alexis Bledel.
Did you know her?
I did not know her. She was after my time as an alum and before my time as an educator. And what I'm told is that she never did a show at St. Agnes.
Really?
She was already out there getting professional work or doing, professional training. So yeah, we missed the boat there.
Wow.
But that was before my time. I would have tried to get her in shows.
Well, she's a dynamic on that show.
Fantastic.
And that show is so, it's just so eerie.
Yeah.
And what's really eerie about it is if you saw it before, it meant one thing to you, but if you go back and see it again, like now, with the times that we're in, where we're now limiting books that people can read, and all these things, and the government's trying to tell us to have more children. I mean, it's just unbelievable how it's coming true. But I have you on the show because of a reason, and I just want to talk a little bit about children.
Yeah,
because I have a prayer, and I'm going to read it. And it says here, it's a prayer for the gift of a child. And for all of us who are parents, you'll understand exactly where I'm going. God our Father, all parenthood comes from you. Allow us to share in that power which is yours alone. And let us see in the child you send us a living sign of your presence in our home. Bless our love and make it fruitful so that a new voice may join yours in praise of you, a new heart to love you, and a new life to bear witness to you. Amen.
Amen.
When you think about that, the child is such an extraordinary just gift from God. And when you look at a child, it's just so innocent.
Mhm.
And more than ever, you really need to have parents that are there, that are going to nurture them all the way through their journey. And I know that you were a foster parent.
Yes.
Tell me about that. Because if there's a great gift, is to be a foster parent.
I was a foster parent for about between 5 and 7 years, off and on. And I've been a teacher for a long time, and I've seen students in family situations where, you want to do more for them, but, it's just professionally, inappropriate.
Yep.
And so I thought, well, what can I do? I see these cycles happening with whether it's poverty, abuse, mental health issues. What can I do? And I knew that I wanted to have a family, but I wasn't in that position yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided to start fostering. And I started through DePelchin, which is a very long-standing adoption and fostering organization here in Houston. And it's just it's fascinating because you become a part of that family story, because the child is going to go back to their family in some way or another. Sometimes they go back to the parent. The parents find their way. They find their way back to stability and some kind of success. And then that's what is hoped for, and that's what the state requires. That's the goal of the state of Texas.
Well, I'm going to give the punchline to all of Houston and Harris County right now, because you recently adopted a child.
Yes.
But I'm going to get to the punchline like a good speaker. You got to build it up. But we have a caller already. Was there a caller, or did I lose it already? Dominic, are you there? Dominic.
Yes, Jim.
You got me, Dominic, and you got Miss Jewell Handy. What do you got for us today?
Well, I'm going to say something. Number one, I'm a native Houstonian. I remember when St. Agnes Jesuit was built out way out, and that was out in the middle of nowhere at the time. I mean, that's the end of the world. That was the end of Hugh Tran, Metro, and that sort of thing 50 years ago. Look how much Houston's changed. St. Agnes used to be near the Ion Center, a block. But I want to talk about drama. I think in schools, my experience is we teach drama wrong. And though, Gil, I think you and your company are very good with the alley theater. So I'm going to say what I'm going to say. I think with drama, sometimes I think the drama teachers think the students are naturally going to be interested in drama. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. I think the way we need to start out is plays that students will understand. Number one, Fiddler on the Roof. That fits a lot of the themes of today. Number two, this one you have to be cautious with. But Sweeney Todd, the Demon Bar of Fleet Street. What happens when anger goes to the extreme? where anger destroys not just you, but the world around you. Lastly, West Side Story. Mm-hmm. That is the American version of Romeo and Juliet. I think if you get students into that, then you can go into Shakespearean plays. That means that the student would have a reference to plays. And two, take students to plays. Mm-hmm. And lastly, Wortham does something I think very well. Before they have a play, they actually have that place is so big. They got classrooms in there, and if you don't know what the play is going to be, they actually give you a small class to give you some idea what is going to happen. So I think we need live theater. We need the arts. I think we need to go from STEM to, I think there's a STEAM. They add the letter A for arts, and I think with that we can get more rounded civil people back on the street. With that, I'm sending it back to you.
Dominic, thank you so much. He mentioned so many great plays. Yeah. And, I love Fiddler on the Roof. And I met Topol one time.
Really?
Yes, that was the original Fiddler, not the Fiddler. Tevye.
Yeah.
And I remember the great line when he's there and he's just talking to God, because he always would talk to God. Yeah. Remember? And he said, and he was talking about that because they were Russian Jews. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about, if we're the chosen people, he goes, every now and then, can't you choose somebody else? Because he was going through all the hardship of their life. Mm-hmm. and what a great play. And as a Sweeney Todd, I love that play too. I feel you, Joanna. I love that.
Anthony,
Pretty Women.
Yes.
I love that. Yeah, and I love that. The one from the movie. The movie Sweeney Todd
with Johnny Depp.
Yes,
and
that is so great.
Yes,
and then of course with West Side Story, when you're a jet, you're a jet. Remember that one?
Yeah,
and
all the way.
Oh my God, there's so many great songs from all
Dominic's
those.
preaching to the choir with me. Yeah, I teach classes, so
she's got the fever.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dominic, for that call. So let's go back, Miss Andy. So you decided to be a foster parent.
Yes.
And what does that mean for our listeners that may not really know what that means? What does that mean that I'm going to be a foster parent?
It means that you apply with an organization. I was with DePelchin. I also worked through a group called Casa de Esperanza, and you do an application. They spend a lot of time checking out your home. There are some to make sure that it's safe for a child. Of course, there's a home visit to make sure that because you become an agency of the state. We don't have orphanages anymore, but there are rules that you have to follow and requirements that make the space safe. So you do that. You take classes and courses, particularly that will help you to understand what the child who comes into your home may have gone through before they got
Let me stop you right there. I can't help it.
It's okay.
Because you brought up orphanage.
Yeah.
Well, of course, I love Annie.
Yeah.
It's a hard luck life for us. I love that one.
Different view of an orphanage.
But let's go back to something because but help me break it down. So when you are a foster parent, you are is this the right word? A temporary parent? Is it a temporary assignment?
Yes, it can be. Now, there is an option sometimes to foster to adopt if the child's parents relinquish their rights. But yes, you are a temporary parent. Everything that a parent should do, you are responsible for doing that. And sometimes there's help from the state because the child has been placed as a ward of the state, and the state is their legal parent.
And are these kids mainly kids that don't have a home, or they are in difficult home situations? What makes them have to be? Do they have to go into the system?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Sometimes there are people who, like myself as a teacher, who are mandatory reporters, and people will observe that the child is struggling or suffering and will report to Child Protective Services. And then Child Protective Services sometimes will go and assess the situation. If it is imminently dangerous, that child is removed from the home and then placed in foster care or becomes a ward of the state. Yes, sometimes they are homeless. And that's what the mandatory reporter is seeing or noticing. They're I believe we say unhoused now, but we know the term homeless as well. And it evokes something to think of a child being homeless.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
There's another song. There's no home like the one what is that song? It comes from the movie Bolt. The one with the little dog. Yes. Oh God, it'll come to me in a moment. But the home is so special.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you something. I want to go back. So you go and you apply, and are you interviewed? You go through a whole process, and then you're on the quote unquote the list to be one, I guess. Exactly. And then are you waiting for a foster child?
Yes.
And so you're waiting for one, and do they say to you, "I've got a child for you. It's so and so," or do they say, "Okay, here are 5 children"?
Oh, that's
you
a great
pick
question.
one. And do you get to say, "I really want an infant," or "I really don't want a teenager"? Tell us more about that whole process.
Part of that fostering process, the interview and the home visits and all of that, part of that is that you get to make the choice. And that means that your home will be required to be, organized in a specific way. I wanted to work with infants because of some of the classes that we do also take too that teach us about how to help children who have suffered trauma. It's harder the older a child is to help them sort of readjust and be able to have connections. It's about their little synapses in their brain. So yes, you can say, I want an infant, or I want to specifically work with a teenager, because there are lots of teenagers and older kids who need that guidance, and there are a lot of people who are perfect for that. There are people who are perfect guiders for younger children or younger teens, preteens, or infants or little kids. So you do get to choose, yes, and you learn what your skill set is.
Yep. Are there any biases? Like, I'm making this up. Oh, people don't want a teenager because they feel that they are too hard already, or biases of people don't want a child of color because they have a bias. I mean, are there some of those biases in the system from where you sit and what you kind of experienced?
It's a great question. One of the questions that I saw I worked with 2 agencies on the application for both of them, and this comes from the state, I'm told, is, are you willing to accept a mixed race, an African American or a mixed race child? And I thought to myself, that wording implies bias.
Yeah, because why would they say also, are you willing to take a white child? But the whole point is, I mean, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Again, why do you think I wouldn't?
Yeah.
Very, very fascinating that something even as so sorely needed, like a foster parent, has some of that undertones around it somehow.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And so when you have it, so let's say you have a baby. First of all, power to you to be a foster parent. Talk about, you must have the heart of, remember the Grinch, 2 sizes too big? Your heart must be 2 or 3 sizes too big, because to take in a child is the greatest gift you can ever give. So continuing, do you know, well, I'm going to have it now for a year? Do you know I'm going to have it? Is it like, this sounds rude, but I can't think of another way to say it. Well, I'm going to be on a month-to-month situation. Or do they come to you, knock on your door one day, and the state says, we've now found a permanent home, and therefore, thank you very much. Your task is over, and we're taking the baby back.
All of the above.
Really?
Yeah. Sometimes you get a call in the middle of the night.
Yep.
And you've got to go and get that baby, and you don't know what's going to happen.
Wow.
My first situation was a tiny little baby. He was 3 days old.
Wow. Come on.
Yeah. And what I didn't know was that he had siblings who were being adopted the very next day, and the parents wanted to petition to adopt him. I was not told that by Child Protective Services. So I had no idea that this child was going to be gone the very next day.
Wow.
I found out that day while I was at work, and he was at home, being cared for. My mom helped me.
Yep.
When I had a kid right away,
Right.
I couldn't have daycare immediately or anything like that. I had another child where I had her throughout the summer. I got her in June, and there was some drug issues, and the birth mother was petitioning to go to an organization where she could take her with her. While she was rehabilitated. So it was a rehab facility where the mothers were with their children, and that's an option. And, so it was sort of a month to month. I didn't know what was going to happen. While at the same time, for every case, they're looking for, because the state's goal is to reunite children with families, right? That's the goal. So they're looking for family members who might step up and take that child in. And so in a lot of ways, that can be a day-to-day or a month-to-month sort of thing.
Wow, that is so amazing. We have another caller. I have so many more questions for you. Is there a Julia on the line?
Yes.
Julia, are you there? You got me. A tip for me. Talk, inspiration, and prayer with Miss Jewell Handy. What do you got for us today?
Yeah, I was, I know you're talking about, you had these kids for a short amount of time, and then they have to go back to, whatever situation they were coming from. And I just wanted to know about the emotional toll that takes on you, like having to care for them for such a short amount of time, and then seeing them go back to their parents who may not always be in the best situations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not to mention you get attached to these
Absolutely.
children
Yeah.
and you love them.
I love them. Yeah.
Yes. Or tell us about that.
It's difficult. It's very difficult. It's, for me, one of the reasons, because I knew that what I wanted to do was to step in and sort of help to break a cycle for a family. It's why my goal had always been to adopt a child who was in need, to foster to adopt. So to start building that relationship early, and then, if the case was that the birth parents couldn't take care of him or her, then I would adopt. But yes, it is heartbreaking.
And it's got to be, especially if you feel, and I don't know if you've ever felt this, so this may be an unfair statement, completely unfair, and especially if you feel like, God, I just don't think that these people that the baby's going to are the right people.
Yeah.
I mean, who are you to judge, right?
Right.
But yet you're in a position to judge, because that's kind of like your baby now,
Right.
and you
Absolutely.
feel responsible, and you're like, God, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be hard.
I have to be candid. I think it's very human to feel judgmental when you're attached to the child. I also found that I had to find a way to be humble and consider what the individuals are going through, and hope and pray for them that they are going to do right by this kiddo by doing right by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Not always the case. I've seen that that is not always the case. It doesn't happen. I have not seen it happen very often. I'll be frank about that as well. So it's difficult. It's a matter of faith.
Wow.
It's a matter of faith and hoping that wherever I call them my kiddos finally land is good for them. And I'm lucky, I feel blessed to say that I know that most of them have ended up with family, which is what they're always looking for. If not the individual parent in the poor situation, the difficult situation they were in before, a better situation. And that's what you hope for. I think that part of what the state's goal of keeping families together is good, is helpful, that they know their family, and maybe it's grandma, or maybe it's an auntie, or even a cousin. And that's great. And I still hope that things are going well for them. I'm always worried they're letting the parent who harmed them or didn't do well by
neglected them.
And that's most of what you see is neglect, particularly with very young children. My worry is that they're letting them back in. And so you don't know.
Well, Julia, thank you for the call. And I hope you call in again another time. So Ms. Haynes, so let's talk about that for a second, because when you do a foster child and do one, that sounds so impersonal, but when you love one, care for one, and you don't know how long the assignment will be, because you hope I guess you kind of in a way hope it won't be long, because you want them to be in a permanent loving situation. Right. But on the other hand, you love them and you want to just care for them. How many have you had in your 7 years worth of being a foster parent?
3.
So you've had some for some extended periods of time.
Yes. So, up to 5 months, 6 months.
Wow. Yeah. And oh my God, that sounds like, I don't know, heart-wrenching to say, hey, here's my baby.
Yeah. I think the CPS workers were trying to get rid of me because I'm asking it 1,000 questions.
Can you ask questions like, after the fact, like in year 1, okay, and then now 5 years have gone by, how's little Susie or how's little Bobby? Are you able to do that? Or can they say, I'm sorry, you know the rules, they're in the system now and we cannot tell you anything?
If they've gone back with their families, I have no, I don't know, it's not rights, but I'm not a member of that family. So, their personal situation, I am not privy to. If they're in the system, what I've said before is, if this child comes back into the system, I'm here for them. And so perhaps they can come back, to be with me. And that's difficult because, what did I say? I was wanting to work with an infant and help to develop the brain, but then they come back and they're 5 or 6 and God forbid they've seen more trauma. But if they've been with me, I was definitely willing to take a child back in.
Golly, God bless you. We have another caller already. Is there a Jennifer there? Jennifer, are you with us?
Yes. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Miss Jennifer. You got me, Gilbert Garcia, with a tip from me. And we're talking about fostering, well, being a foster parent. And then we're going to talk a little bit about adopting. But go for it. What do you got for us today?
Yes, I would like to say that listening to it in fostering is such a beautiful and at the same time tough life decision to be in. And what comes to mind is when you do foster a kid in such a short amount of time, yet trying to make an impact in their life. Are there any kind of like life lessons or wisdom you're still trying to kind of bring to them and make sure they understand possibly while they're with you to make sure they get the most amount of, as I mentioned, wisdom from you during that time? Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Jennifer. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
That's a tough
you.
one.
Thank you. That's a great question. You know, with me, I was working with little infants, and we talked about neglect being the biggest problem for kids that age, but for all kids, really, that's the biggest problem. It's not always, you know, the horrible abuse that we hear those stories. And just providing safety, consistency, you know, you're going to eat every day.
Yep.
You're going to be picked up from school. You're going to on time. You're going to have warm clothing and a warm place to sleep, your own room that's required by the state, your own bed, your own bedroom. And you're going to have that every single day is what, you know, you want to provide. I think that when you're working with an older kid, when you're fostering an older kid, that's just as important, just as prescient and precious as when it's just a little baby who can't fend for themselves, because we don't want a teenager running around trying to find their own clothes and their own food and their own. So I feel like that is, you know, what fostering is really about, to let a child know that there are people there who will be there for them, will be consistent for them. Oh, I'm starting to cry. Because that basic stuff is what they haven't had.
Those are tears of joy. And that's okay. You know, I had a good friend of mine, actually she's a good friend of, well, my wife is a good friend, and her sister is a CPS worker. And she had been for many, many years, you know, like 15, 20 years, and was very senior. And she recently left. And she just said that their cutbacks and their overwork, and they're seeing such really difficult, horrible type circumstances for these kids. And she just frankly was heartbroken. You're not working with the CPS people that are out there in the field. You're not really working with them. You're already working with the people that we already have someone for you.
As through adoption, yes. But when I was fostering, CPS agents would come and do visits. You know, they do visits as well. They have
checking on you to make sure everything's going well.
Exactly. There are certain requirements, obviously, with infants or any child. There are doctor's visits, you know, milestones you want to meet. I had, with one of my little girls, I had a testing, you know, of her cognitive ability. They came in and did testing for her because she had been exposed to drugs. They wanted to see, you know, where her ability, whether she was developing properly and helpfully. And so they come in and they take them for visits. They do visit their, you know, by law, they must visit with the birth parent if the birth parent will show up. That's part of the program, you know, because the goal is to put them back with parents or family, birth parents or family. The parents are usually doing some sort of a program, learning how to be a parent, parenting lessons, you know, Al-Anon or Al-Teen if they're very young, or AA, all kinds of things to help them develop to be able to be a parent. And so part of that is to do a certain number of visits. So the CPS workers will come and take the child to the visit. Sometimes I do, but
they are doing the Lord's work, the CPS workers. They really are. And the foster parents. I'm going to do another prayer because I want to use this as a segue into now becoming to be able to adopt a child. So this prayer is called a parent's prayer. Thank you for my children, Lord. I know they are a gift from you. Daily, I need your strength and wisdom to train them in the way they should go. Give me patience and a joyful heart. Let me be an example of your love and forgiveness. Thank you, Father, for the honor of being a parent. Amen.
Amen.
Before we go to, I'm gonna do what do you call it? Privilege of being the show host. I want to show my daughter, who's my last child at home, and this is her at her St. Agnes performance workshop, which is one of their choirs, and it's together with Straight Jesuit and Juju. We call her Juju. She's Juliana, but Juju is my last baby, and she's my only girl. And today is her very last day, and she's taken her final today. I think she has one more final Friday, but like today's gonna be like the last day.
Yeah.
And I gotta tell you, I'm already crying because when I see this girl, I see this little bitty, I see this beautiful little joyful thing, and now she's this young lady. And I'm like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
When did it happen? And it reminds me of this incredible commercial. Sometimes commercials can be so incredible. And it's a parent, it's a father, and he's sitting in the passenger seat of a car, and there's a little girl that must be no more than like 6 years old in the driver's seat. And she's saying, "Dad, don't worry. I'm going to be okay. But I want you to teach me how to drive." And of course, she's really not that old,
right.
But that's what he sees.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden it switches to now she is what she really is. She's a 16 or 17-year-old teenage girl, and she's talking to her dad. "Don't worry, Dad, I want you to help me drive." But he sees her as this little girl. Yeah. And that's how I feel when I see my Juju, my daughter. Yeah. Let's see there. And I love this song. I got to get the name of this doggone song. I meant to ask my daughter. Let's play it real quick. Okay, I'm getting the feedback there, but let's go ahead and get to it. Hold on, the feedback's coming back. Let's get to the song. Can we get more volume? Let's get to the song. Can we get more volume? I keep getting that feedback. Yeah, let's see if we can come back to it because I want to get it just right. Yeah. But let's go. So when did you discover, what? And see if you can clean that up for me, producer, please. When did you discover I've been doing this, but you know what? I'm ready. I mean, did a light bulb go off that just says, you know what? I'm ready?
Not quite. Like I said, I had hoped to adopt through fostering. And I realized that, as I keep mentioning, that is really not the goal of the state. The goal is that the children who are in the system return to be with a family member, whether it's siblings who've been adopted by someone else, through the foster system, or the birth parent or grandparents, whomever is a family member. They think it's very important to have those blood connections, which of course. Mm-hmm. So I decided that it was hard on my heart to keep going through this, especially when I did see that, sometimes it didn't work out for that child. And I thought, it's not that the population who needs help is any different. If I go through private adoption, I'm still going to help someone, particularly a young woman. I mentioned, very often mixed race or African-American folks. I'm African-American. And so I would love to be able to break that cycle. I've been very privileged and lucky and blessed to have been able to go to St. Agnes, to have been able to get education that I've been able to get, to want a child, to want to have a family. And so I decided to just take a more direct route than I had been taking, and went to work through an organization called Family to Family, which, like I said, is often dealing with the same population of folks who need help breaking that cycle. They just have come to the decision that adoption is what the route they want to go.
So you decided, I'm going to adopt.
Yes.
And so you had to change course and come to a new organization.
Exactly.
Did you have to go through the process all over again?
Yes.
And so are they like, I mean, this isn't like, here's a questionnaire. I mean, they must be doing some sort of background check and make sure your financials are viable. I mean, what was it like to think, God, I got to do it all over again?
It was hard.
And did you ever think, what if I don't make it? I mean, what if they say nope?
Yeah, I did. I worried that all these years thought that there's some difference between being able to be a foster parent and being able to adopt. Yes, absolutely. It was going through the almost exact same paperwork.
Yep.
They come to you and do a home visit. In fact, the home visit that I had originally, they used that as their starting point.
Interesting.
And then they did it again. And they said, "Oh, nothing's changed, so let's go on."
And how does one? How does one get? I mean, this sounds crazy, but you don't just go to like the yellow pages. Let's see, adopt. Here, HADO. I'm looking to adopt. I mean, how does one really find a place? I really want to be a parent, and I want to adopt a child. I mean, did you go through the church? I mean, how did you find them?
I started with DePelchin, I mentioned. And
so you kind of already knew some of the players.
Right. And I did some research. I've tried to look to find organizations that had been around for a long time, that had a strong reputation, that had some connections to Christian or Catholic. I'm Catholic. And so I started with DePelchin there. Also friends. I happen to have some friends who also were fostering to adopt. And so the second organization, the Casa de Esperanza, and they'd been around for a very long time. They started during the AIDS epidemic, and they started to protect children who were born who had HIV, which I can't even imagine how hard that was to foster a child who, when there was no help for them at that time. And then they, expanded to work with other kids, of course. And they have a campus that's really beautiful, and the kids live there for a while first, and then they come to live with you. Yeah, that's a great place. And so I have friends who were parents of a child. Now they ended up adopting her, and they suggested this place. And then that place, when I said, I think I'm ready to just adopt, suggested the other one. So you kind of got to get into the network.
Well, so you made the decision from when you made the decision, okay, now I found a place. So you're doing the paperwork and all that till the day you are successful with adoption. How long was that?
Yeah, it can take a long time. So it was about 2 years.
2 years?
And I've heard it take up to 5.
5 years?
Yes.
Oh my God. Well, first of all, as someone who doesn't know any better, which is who I am, a mere mortal here, there seems to me a lot of young kids that need a parent. Am I right or am I wrong?
You're absolutely right.
I mean, my goodness. And of course, on the other side, you don't want to just like put in this incredible gift from God into someone that's really not ready.
Right.
But there's got to be a way to speed up the process. Is it red tape, or is it just that's how long it takes, Gilbert?
I really wish it was as cut and dried as that. It is, to some extent, that's how long it takes. If you're doing private adoption, the birth parent has to pick you. So you're on a list, and maybe they don't pick you.
I see.
If you're fostering to adopt, because there is red tape there in terms of if the parent relinquishes their rights, the child goes back into state sort of conservatorship, they'll call it, right? The state is the parent, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be the one to raise that child. They're still looking for other family members, or maybe they think that your home isn't the right home for that particular child. They were that specific about, whether you wanted an African-American child or and I think that sometimes they I have seen that they make some choices about that. Perhaps I'm a single person, so that might have played into it to some extent. That
Do you feel that there's some of that sort of underlying tone about, well, no, because I need a Leave It to Beaver family.
Yes.
Remember Leave It to Beaver? For those of you who don't know, that was the white picket fence in the old days and the 50s, and a mom that stayed home all the time, and the father was all just like skipping to work, and then they were typical two parents, two kids, white Anglo-Saxon families, Anglo families. Are some people kind of like that? Oh no, I don't. I got to have a Leave It to Beaver family because I just have these judgments.
Right. And we're talking, both the CPS, agents and sometimes the birth parents. The birth parent, I've adopted a little girl, and her birth parent told me, her mother told me that, I wanted to have a mother and a father, the nuclear family.
Right.
But when she saw my information, you make a little book that sort of tells them about your life and who you are.
No kidding.
And that goes to the agency, and they get to look through that. And she said, when I saw your book and I saw all the things about you that are so close to my family and who I am and the values that I have, and she said, I knew you were the right one.
You're going to make me cry.
It was wonderful.
I mean, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's better than wonderful. That's better than wonderful.
Very blessed.
That's like spiritual.
Yes.
What a wonderful connection.
Yes. Yeah. She's a wonderful, selfless, brave young woman.
So it happened 2 years it took.
Yes.
And is it a newborn baby to where you get to see the young mother and sort of like get to know her? Or is it the baby's already born and you have limited interaction with the mother?
It could be either. With this particular organization, what the original goal is that 4 months before birth, you make an agreement with the birth parent or parents. Sometimes it's two parents. But what happened with my situation, and you get to know her and you help with some finances and things like that. With my situation, I was out to lunch. This was near Christmas time, so I didn't have as many classes. So I got to go out to lunch with one of my colleagues, and I happened to be there, and I went to the bathroom and I got a call. Can you come to the hospital? A baby's been born.
Oh my God.
She wants to choose you. She wants to meet you, the birth mother. And that was on December 5th. The baby was born on December 4th. I met her on the 5th. I took her home on the 6th.
Wow.
So,
oh my God. That's kind of like, remember the show I Love Lucy? And a lot of people know I Love Lucy with Ricky Ricardo and Lucy McGillicuddy. I stumble with that word. And they were having a thing when little Ricky was born, and they were like having this whole the Mertzes, the neighbors. Remember that? Fred and Ethel. They were practicing exactly what would happen when Lucy had to give birth, and so then they were all ready. But then what had happened? They were all like bumping into each other, and they left. They all left. And they left Lucy there on the couch.
Yes.
So was it like that where you're kind of like ready, but here comes like you're with your friend. You're like, I'm sorry, I gotta go.
Absolutely.
And pick up the check. Please. And then you went. And then were you nervous?
Very nervous. Because you're hoping they'll pick you.
Yeah.
You're hoping that because everything I just said about her reasons for picking me, I didn't know any of that yet.
Yeah.
I got to meet her, talk to her. It was like, I met her mother. She was very young.
Yeah.
And it was like talking to people in my own family, members of my own family. It was just very comfortable. But before that, how could I have known that?
That's right. And all you can think about as a parent is, I just want him to have, or her to have, 10 fingers and 10 toes, right? I just want to make sure she's okay.
Yeah.
As a little infant to have a chance at life.
Exactly.
I just want it to be okay. Can they breathe? Can their heartbeat right?
Exactly.
So then are you going to be, and is this up to you to decide, I'm going to stay in touch with this mom?
Great question. So there are options with this particular organization. What they want is to agree to a semi-open adoption, which could, this is hard to explain, which could be a range of things, right? Sending photographs and information. If you choose maybe meeting and having, visits. But the thing is, there's nothing that's legal that's in writing. So it's sort of up to you and the parent to decide how you're going to make that happen. With this family, we've talked about open adoption, and they're lovely. Like, I was very nervous about that.
Yeah.
For various, I didn't know we don't know each other. There are all kinds of reasons to be nervous about, it is bringing someone into your family and being a part of theirs. And again, you have to make the decision about what that looks like.
Right.
The young woman was so wonderful. She said, I don't want you to feel like if I'm asking for a visit, you have to just drop everything in your life and make that happen, because this is your child and your family and your schedule, and you manage that to the best of your ability, which is just amazing.
But there's legal paperwork. So she couldn't say, you know what, I want this baby now. I've changed my mind.
Right.
That can't happen.
That can't happen.
Okay. Wow. And so the baby is now how old?
She's 5 months old.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she was 5 months last week already.
Well, I saw you at the school.
Yeah.
And the baby's beautiful. And you know what? I think she liked me.
Yes, she did.
Because every time I would look at her, she'd look at me, and we had that eye contact.
Yeah.
And then she would follow me. I mean, what a gift.
Yeah,
how has that changed you now?
I'm just so thrilled,
In addition to glowing, but how's it changed you?
Just that your heart is there with that little person. And I've heard people say something that I don't know if I'm going to get this right, but that it's like now your heart is on the outside and it's in the world moving around, and to be able to watch her grow and develop, and it's just joy and pride all the time, and not a lot of sleep.
Yes.
But I don't care.
Right.
Luckily, she's kind of a morning person like me. I'm an AM kind of gal, so we'll see if that lasts. But I'm just more open, and I see so many possibilities. What you've been talking about this gift, children being a gift from God, and we are the ones who are given that gift and that opportunity to do for them and give to them whatever it is they need and help them to become the person that they're going to become, whatever that is. That is so, the prospect of that is so huge. And yet I'm so excited. Every day when she does something, I'm thinking, I can't wait to, when she's already babbling, I'm like, I can't wait to understand what it means, I can't wait to have a conversation with you.
And you mentioned earlier in another story about your mom. Is your mom with us?
My mom is with us.
And so is your mom like totally just like, give me that baby?
Yes.
Is your mom, give me, Jewell, give me that baby right now.
Absolutely. In fact, I've done, I'm with St. Agnes, and I had some obligations that I made before she was born. Like, we did the choir tour. Yep. So we went to Philadelphia this year, and it's for 3 days, and I had to leave my baby for 3 days. And all I could think was that, I didn't get any pictures when I asked for them. I didn't get any phone calls, no updates. My mom and my sister were caring for her. And I thought to myself, they're glad I'm gone.
They probably are.
They're glad I'm not there bossing them around, because they're constantly, we'll take her, we got her, we got,
It's such a, being a parent, of course, I am a parent, but I've had 4 children. And one thing I notice is, first of all, there is no book on how to be a parent. Now, maybe it's a book, but you know what? Whoever wrote it, you don't know. There's just, and children have a mind of their own. My parents would always say, well, children have a mind of their own. Boy, were they right. You don't know. And you don't know what they want to be, and you don't know how they're going to be. And all we can do as parents is just love them, give them the support, the right environment, give them some of the resources to sort of help that they'll, grow up and learn and so forth. But really, there's so much is just inherent in what God gave them. And you're going to see that as your baby starts to grow up. It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's a miracle.
It really is. And when you see a baby, you can just sort of tell that God, she's just taking it all in.
Mm-hmm.
That mind is working so fast.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
it's extraordinary. Let's see if I can now play my daughter. Now that we're talking about all this parenting and everything, let's see if it's too late to play that real quick. Let's hope we get this right. If we don't, we'll have to do it for next week. Wow.
Yeah.
I just love that. Isn't that amazing? That's going to be your daughter one day.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Go back to some of those messages, producer. I saw Las Brisas restaurant. Listen, Las Brisas, listen, I love your restaurant. Thank you for tuning in. Of course, I love Denver Harbor. And I saw another one, Richard Johnson. Where's Richard? Richard Johnson. God bless Miss Jewell. She is doing a great work. You know what,
Thank
Richard?
you.
That is so nice of you to say that.
Thank you.
Let's go up. I saw Hannah. Hannah, what did Hannah say? Oh, there you go. Albert Rodriguez, you can share where we get more information about adoption. Can you share more? Okay, that's great. Oh, there's a lot of comments. Let's see what Oliver said here. What did he say? Adopting a child is a beautiful and life-changing journey that brings joy and fulfillment to both the child and the adopted family. It involves providing a loving home, support, and guidance to a child who needs it. The process can vary widely depending on the country, agency, and specific circumstances, but it typically includes background checks, home studies, and legal procedures to ensure the best interests of the child are met. Mr. Oliver Rodriguez, you know what? You sound like you know what you're talking about,
well
right?
Said.
Golly.
Concise.
Yeah, super good. Well, I just wanted to say, when you look back, do you think anything like, gosh, maybe I should have done this sooner? I mean, or are you right where you needed to be? Are you the Lord put you here, and here is where we are.
I feel that now, but certainly there were days when I was waiting and having heartbreaks that I thought, I wish I'd started sooner, or maybe this isn't the right thing. Maybe this isn't going to happen for me. But I think it all happened exactly the way it was supposed to be. It wouldn't have been this child. It wouldn't have been this family. And I think I'm where God wants me to be.
I think that's right. And I have great hopes for the Catholic Church. People know I'm Catholic, with our new Pope.
Yeah.
Because I think he's going to continue the whole stuff of Pope Francis, of, I don't know, loving and caring people. And, they always say, Jesus was an immigrant.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's just about loving and caring of your fellow man, and fellow women, just fellow human beings. What a great story. You are inspiration to me.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm so glad I had you on my show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And, it's going to be a lifelong journey, but you know what? It's one of those things that when I look back, I always think, gosh, did I wish I had frozen this in time or frozen that in time, because I just, it went too fast. So I look at you as you're on the front end of parenting, and I want to say, you know what? Cherish every moment, because it's going to go fast. And you're going to say, you're going to be here, in my shoes 18 years from now, and your daughter's going to be graduating from high school, and you're going to say, golly, I just want to hold her again when she was a baby. I want to hold her one more time. I just want to, help her ride that bicycle one more time, the first time. I want to help her learn how to drive one more time. All those milestones of life. I want to get her ready for her first prom, and I want to be there, and I don't want to forget. Because, it's going to go fast. But that's what the journey of life is all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't that right? I know. I'm crying with you.
Yeah.
I'm crying with you. Do me a favor. You got about a minute and a half. There's Houston. What do you want to tell your little girl right now? So maybe someday she'll be watching this. What do you want to tell her right now and share with Houston?
That this is all about love. I love her with my whole heart. And if you have a heart for love, then, please do whatever you can for a child, because they're the ones who are going to take us into the future, who are going to give that love back to the world, back to you, certainly, if you're giving them love and your loving heart. But to give that to the world, it's a gift that keeps on giving. That might sound trite, but it is. It just is cyclical. I want to break a cycle. If you want to break a cycle, then love. Give your love to a child.
Amen. And Juju, if you're out there, when I come home, I'm going to give you the biggest hug, and you're going to let me. So, Houston, this is Gilbert Garcia saying we'll see you next time. This is Gilbert Andrew Garcia with a tip from Gilbert, talk, inspiration, and prayer. Listen to my show every Monday from 11 to 12 on KWWJ 1360 AM, KYOK 1140 AM, KCOH at 1230 KCOH.com, Sangeet Radio at 95.1 FM, 1460 AM, and Latino Sports, KEYH 850 AM. Call in at 832-570-8075 and follow me on social media. See you then.